Good morning. It's a warm Saturday morning here in SoCal. There's nothing better on a warm day than a cold beer. So let's make some. This is what I'm going to make today. This is from Northern Brewer. It's a real low alcohol content, grapefruit flavored beer. Great summer beer. So let's show you what's in here. Everything you need is in this box except for water and the things to brew it. I really like their kits. Real easy to read instructions. So what else do we have in here? Hop pellets, yeast, because yeast eats sugar, which creates alcohol and carbon dioxide in the beer. It's science. And then we have, what do we have here? 2 pounds of dried malt extract and 3.5 pounds of malt extract syrup. And what do we got here? Crystallized grapefruit. So that's everything we need to make 5 gallons of beer, which works out to approximately 48 12-ounce bottles. Got my handy dandy camp stove. There we go. All right, I already rinsed all this stuff out. While I'm waiting for that water to heat up and boil, I'm going to start prepping stuff, the fermentation vessel. So the beer, this whole process is approximately 6 weeks from today till I can drink it. So it takes a little bit of time. And that time gets stretched out the higher the alcohol content beer you have. You have a real high alcohol content beer, it takes a long time for the yeast to eat all that sugar. So I've got this Brewcraft fermenting bucket. I really like these ones. Way better than the really tall ones. So this one will fit, I don't know, this one will fit 7 gallons. So, oh, there it is. 8. So this will fit 8 gallons because you need room, and I'll show you. You're going to put 5 gallons in here, and then once that yeast starts working, it's going to start foaming. So you have to have headroom for the foam to build up and drop back down once that yeast does its job. You want your whole process to be really clean too. You know, try to as clean as you can make it. That way you don't introduce any bacteria to your beer that you don't want in it, because we're going to add the yeast that came with it, and that's the only stuff we want in it. So we have to sanitize things. So there's this no rinse sanitizer. So I'm going to fill this 5 gallons, add the appropriate amount of sanitizer, and then sanitize this vessel and everything else I'm going to use today that is not being boiled. 1 ounce for 5 gallons. Got it. Yes, it is. All right. Got my stuff sanitizing. And get some of this mixture on the lid of the bucket. And this is a no rinse sanitizer. Just get it on there and let it air dry. All right, my water's heating up. I've got this little cage on the side where I'm going to put the hop pellets in so they're not just free floating in the water. Some kits come with a bag that you can put the hops in, like a cloth bag, and that's fine. My wife got me that for Christmas one year, and I like it. So now The age-old thing, just waiting for water to boil. My water has come to a boil. So now we've got to move it. Ooh, that's hot. We've got to move it. We need to move it off the burner so that we can add our malt ingredients. You have to move it off the burner so that when you pour it in, it doesn't burn on the bottom of the pot. So we'll just pour and stir. This stuff's real thick and sticky, so I always try to want to get all of it out of the container, so I put a little hot water in there. Try to get every bit out of there. If you miss a bunch of sugar, it brings your alcohol content down. All right, now we've got our dry malt extract. Dump that in. And hops at the beginning. So I've got these hop pellets. They almost look like rabbit food. Those are just pelleted hops versus whole hop flowers. Add those to the basket so that it doesn't just get mixed in with all the stuff and have to. This is what it looks like now. It's got color to it. And make sure that everything in there is dissolved before we throw her back over the flames. It added a lot of volume to that pot too. That was half gallon worth of stuff. It brought that liquid level way up. Move my pot back over the heat, just like so. Always nice to have some big vessels that you can let things kind of dry off in. All the stuff I'm sanitizing. This stuff just needs to get to a boil, and then we're gonna start a timer for 30 minutes. It says 30-minute boil time. Finally started to boil. Good rolling boil. Give it a little stir. There's a thing called the hot break. Whenever something happens to all that sugar I poured in there, it'll stop foaming. There's a lot of science that goes into this. It's a really good thing for your kids. Real good science experiment. Make some beer. So now I'm gonna start a half-hour timer, and this is just gonna boil for half an hour. Our half hour is up on our boil, so now we have to get this beer cooled, or this wort as it's called, cooled to between 70 and 80 degrees as fast as possible. I know I need 5 gallons of finished product, and we started with a little under 3. So I'm gonna add this cold water. That's gonna help bring the temperature down. Then I've also got this chilling device, which you're gonna throw in there. Gonna hook up some hoses to it. So what I'm gonna do is circulate cold water through that coil to cool this down. I've got a fountain pump, just garden fountain pump. I froze these big tubs of ice yesterday. So what I've got going on here is I just filled the basin of this sink with water. I put these huge blocks of ice in it that I froze yesterday. And this pump is just gonna recirculate that cold water. Instead of running cold water from the tap, which some people do, it just runs down the drain, so I don't wanna waste that much water. So I'm just gonna put this cold water with all this ice and just let it circulate through there. Goes in cold, comes out hot, pulls the heat off it, and then we'll get that temperature down to below 80. So we're right down about 76 degrees now. Now we'll transfer our liquid from this pot to our fermentation bucket. A funnel with a little screen in it to catch any sediment that's going to come out of here. We just open it up. All All right, we've got our liquid transferring funnel with a screen in it to catch any sediment. So we'll just put all that in the bucket. We need to end up with 5 gallons of finished product. So I'm going to add my bottled water to bring it up to the 5 gallon mark. Now we need to measure the sugar content of our beer, the original gravity. And that's going to be able to tell us at the end the alcohol percentage of this beer. So this is called a thief, little vial to put it in. All these things have been sanitized. Right now we're at 1.040. And what's going to happen is we'll take a reading at the end, and this is actually going to sink because there's going to be less sugar in here because it's been turned to alcohol by yeast. It's probably going to get somewhere down around there. We'll take that reading in 2 weeks. We're just about exactly what the recipe called for, 1.040. So we're doing great. I got sanitized scissors, my packet of yeast. I'm gonna pour that on there. You don't need to stir it, you just sprinkle it on top. This is an airlock. What it's gonna allow it to do, it's kind of like a toilet or the trap in the bottom of your sink, but it works the opposite direction. So it's gonna allow CO2 to bubble out this side, and it won't allow any contaminants to come back in this side. So we'll put this in our fermenting space, and by tomorrow morning, this guy is going to be bubbling because all this yeast is going to be eating all that sugar in there, turning it into alcohol and CO2. Here we are 3 weeks later, folks. That thing's all fermented out. No more activity in the airlock. I wanted to do this a week ago, but I got stuck at work last weekend, so it didn't happen. Nevertheless, we will persevere. So we're going to transfer this to a glass vessel and let it sit for another week before I keg it. Got my vessel sanitizing, all the other tools I'm going to need, some fresh tubing, buy that anywhere, 5/16. The thief, because we have to pull some out to test the gravity of it, fresh airlock, stopper for the top of the carboy, and a siphon pump. So we'll start our siphon to get the beer from vessel to vessel. Got my lid off. Smells good. Doesn't smell bad. It's got a little bit of floaties on top still, but that's all right. So we're gonna transfer this to our other vessel right there. And there's lots of different forums with lots of different people with lots of different opinions on if the foam from the sanitizing stuff can stay in there. Some say it's okay, some say it's not. I'm just gonna do it. See what happens. Gonna take my test amount, test the sugar that's in it, see what alcohol content we have. So we are at about 1.010 on our gravity now. We started at 0.40, and by this handy dandy little chart I got somewhere along the way, we can determine that the max alcohol content that's possible at 0.40 is 5.3%. We got it down to 110. So if we take 5.3 minus 1.3, we get 4. So right now this is a 4% beer, which is almost exactly what the recipe said it would be. Put our pump in. See if I got enough hose. Oh yeah. Get the siphon started. There we go. Now we've got our liquid moving from one vessel to another. What this is going to do is there's actually a layer of sediment down here from yeast settling out as it becomes inactive. So we're going to get all the liquid off what's called the trub. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Just to give it a better flavor, we're going to get it off of this into this vessel where we will get more solids to settle out before we keg it. I'm going to give it a little taste. See how it tastes. Pretty good. Tastes like a very generic flat beer. Once the grapefruit seasonings get put in that, it's probably going to be fantastic. Got everything transferred over. You can kind of see why you couldn't use this vessel for primary fermentation, because you wouldn't have enough space for it to foam up and down as it's fermenting. So these 5-gallon ones are only good for secondary fermentation. You can kind of see it. It's still bubbling because we stirred up some yeast in there. Some people really like to use glass the whole way around. So if you're going to use glass the whole way around, you got to get a 6 or 7 gallon carboy for your primary fermentation to start in. So I'll put that back in my fermentation space, and 1 week from today, I will put it in a keg. All these things I've got, the siphon pump, the tubing, the thief, hydrometer for measuring the gravity, all these things can be bought at any online home brewing supply place, or if you have a local place to go. Super common. You can buy a starter kit with all this stuff. Nothing I'm doing here is super complex or requires anything special. And I'm not some master brewer guy. I'm just a guy that likes to drink beer. So when I tell you anybody can do it, you can. Today is beer kegging day. So it's been 1 week since I put the beer in this vessel. We had a lot more things settled to the bottom. No active bubbling. So fermentation is done. I've got my sanitized keg, 5 gallons. I'm currently sanitizing the other implements it's going to take. This is real simple, just the siphon pump to siphon it. And then to give this beer its grapefruit flavor, there was this packet of crystallized grapefruit, and the instructions said to boil it in 1 cup of water and then add it to the keg when we put the beer in. So that's what we're going to do. Ooh. All right, we're moving. One thing to check on these kegs is making sure these gaskets are still good, because they get cracked and worn out just like anything that's rubber. So I always keep a few on hand, just so if one is cracked, I can throw another one on. Throw a little bit of this on there, keep it lubed up. right, now I'm gonna try to add my grapefruit flavoring water. Boom, there we go. All right, we got our keg full to the tippy top. Put the lid on, cinch it down. All right, these kegs have an in port and an out port. I'm not going to worry about the out today because it's got to sit for a couple weeks to carbonate. So, got my deal coming off the CO2 tank. Stick it on, and you'll hear it pressurize that container. Listen for any leaks. Make sure nothing's leaking. And then you want to bleed some CO2 off just to make sure it pressurizes as well. And all these things have a release valve on top. Purge all the air out of it so that it's only CO2 sitting on that beer. And there we go. Put it back in, let it get cold. Oh, there's still actually some left in that one. I didn't realize. I should have a beer. I've got my tank set up back here, dual regulator tank. This is the one that I just plugged into. This is the other keg. Make sure they're both on. Have plenty of CO2 left in the tank. This tank will last a long time. Multiple kegs. All right, I'm just gonna clean up after myself. Poured myself a fresh beer. I forgot there was still some in there from last time. Cheers. All right, here I am a few weeks later doing another batch. It's been a while since I made this stuff, but I got the keg tapped and we'll pour some out and give her a try and see how it turned out. Here we go, let's see. All right, pretty clear. Not hazy, no floaties. It's probably got that much foam just because it's the first one coming out. So let's give it a try. Okay, let's see. It's been in there a little bit. This took a lot of effort, so I hope it's good. Otherwise, I've got backup going again. It wouldn't be the first time I've dumped beer out I made. Sometimes something goes wrong and it's just not great. So, cheers. Pineapple something. I don't remember what it was now. I threw the box away. I remember it was pineapple. Here we go. Real strong smell of pineapple. That's good. Light, good summer beer. If this glass was frozen, it would have been better. It'd be real cold. But yeah, that's pretty good. I've made worse. It's got a stronger smell of pineapple than a taste of pineapple. It's just kind of citrusy, kind of a very basic citrusy beer, but great summer beer, not super heavy, low alcohol content. So I'm pretty happy with that. Success. If I can do it, you can. I'm pretty happy with that. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them in. If I can do this, you can. It's pretty easy. It just takes time. Cheers.